Hey guys, hopefully everyone is doing well. Today's target is to solve question number 13.1, and the chapter which we are related with is break-even point, leverage, and uh, basically this chapter has already been discussed. Author was different, book was different. Right here, we are related with Gitman. This is the writer, and Managerial Finance is our book. So we will be discussing same break-even point which we have already discussed in Garrison Noreen was the writer, and the book was similarly Management Accounting. What is this question about, or was this chapter is about? The main factor which we will be discussing would be break-even point. And for this break-even point, we'll have to understand a point where there is no profit, no loss. A point where total revenues are equal to their total cost. So you can call that a stage where revenue is equal to cost. You may call it when there is no profit, no loss, or you may call it when you have your final profit nil. That means you are not earning anything. So break even point is a point where your revenues are equal to your cost. So here you can see that our requirement specifically is to calculate a break even point. First of all, we will read this question, whatever would be given as an input, we will note it down and then we will calculate what is required. Kate wishes to estimate the number of flowers arrangements she must sell at 24.9. Look at here, she must sell at 24.9. So we have got our sale price per unit, and that can be denoted with S, and we have 24.95 dollars. Okay, next she has estimated fixed operating cost 12,350. So we have got our second element, fixed cost, and that is $12,350. Both amounts are given in dollar, but just keep it in mind when you are looking at here, it is per unit cost, and when you are dealing with fixed cost, it is total cost. 12,350 is your total fixed cost. Sale price 24.95 is per unit. Then we have variable cost 15.45, again per arrangement or per unit cost it is, but now we are related with variable cost per unit, and that can be called VC. And how much we do have? 15.45. Again it's dollars. How many flower arrangement must Kate sell to a break even on operating cost? How many flowers? It means numbers are needed. So we have target profit units to be calculated. Now you will ask question, we were supposed to calculate break even point. Now here we are asked to calculate the target profit units. Basically these are both directly or indirectly associated with break even point, because question is how many units should be sold to get break even, and break even have already been discussed. It's a point where there is no profit, no loss. With the help of this we are going to calculate our break even point, with which beside this break even point we will calculate the number of units. So here is our requirement, target profit units, and happily we have formula for target profit units. For that you need to have fixed costs first, and then you will add your target profit, or it's better to write target profit first, and then you need to add your fixed cost, and finally you would be dividing it with contribution margin CM per unit. Okay, this is a new word and you have less idea about that. I am going to make it wrapped way. Alright, so we have our target profit, which is unknown, plus fixed cost, and it would be divided by CM per unit. So we need to calculate our units. This is the first way, or you can calculate your break even units. How? Again, you need to have your fixed cost and it would be divided by CM per unit. CM per unit is still unknown to you and we will discuss it. For that, you need to know how to make contribution margin. This is called CM, contribution margin income statement. Okay, this would start with your sales and then you will subtract your variable cost. You will get contribution margin, and then again you will subtract your fixed cost, with which you will get your net margin. So here you have calculated two main things, contribution margin and net margin. From here we can drive our formula. If you will subtract your variable cost from sales, you will get your contribution margin. In similar way, you can calculate contribution margin per unit. How? Look at over here. When you will subtract your variable cost from sale, you get contribution margin. So in similar way, if you are taking sales per unit, okay, please focus upon here, and you will subtract variable cost per unit, with which what you will get contribution margin per unit. So please understand the concept of variable cost and fixed cost. This is also important, and since we are solving our first question, concepts are literally essential and necessary to be understood. Variable cost and fixed cost. If you are related with your manufacturing concern, there can be two major costs, fixed cost, and when you will add variable cost, finally you can get your total manufacturing cost. So fixed cost, a cost which will never be altered. If you are making a low number of units, if you are making higher number of units, or even if you are not working at all, that cost will remain same. This is called your fixed cost. Again, I am repeating the same thing. Fixed cost is a cost which will never be altered. Even if you are working for large number of units or you are working for small number of units, that cost will not altered. Fixed cost, cost which will remain same. Now let's say if you are working for 10,000 units, or you are working for 20,000 units, or you are working for 30, or even if you are not working at all, that cost would be same. I'm giving you an example with which it would be easy for you to understand. Rent of factory building. So please understand that if you are working for 2 days, or you are working for 3 days, or you are working for 15 days or full month, your rent would be same. Even for the whole month, if you are not working at all, cost would be same. So rent would be same. So rent is fixed type of cost. Like I have told you, in whole month, if you had not worked at all, even not a single piece you have manufactured, you will have to pay same rent. Or you have manufactured thousands of number of units, even then rent of factory building would be same. So this is your fixed cost. Another example we can quote is salary of factory supervisor. So here again an example of fixed cost. Factory supervisor is getting salary. No matter if it is 10,000 number of unit, if it is 1,000 number of unit, even if no unit has been manufactured, supervisor will receive the same salary. In another example you can take is salary of computer operator of factory. So this is another way to understand what is your fixed cost. As I have told you, if you are manufacturing large number of unit or you are not manufacturing at all, you will have to pay salary to the computer operator, as fixed amount would be given to the operator. It means it has no concern with number of unit manufactured, it has no concern with number of working days, it has no concern with number of hours worked. He will be receiving same amount of salary. In this way you can understand the concept of fixed cost, and what we have discussed, it would never be altered no matter for how many hours you are working. Second cost which we have discussed is variable cost, and it is exactly opposite to fixed cost. If you will work more, this type of cost would be changed. If you are working for few hours, cost would be decreased. If you are working for large number of hours, cost will be increased. With example, it would be little easy for you. Example for variable cost is electricity bill. Hopefully, rather I am sure that you will understand. If large number of units you are manufacturing, your electricity bill would be different in comparison with when you are manufacturing small number of unit. If you are working for full 30 days, electricity bill would be different. If you are working for 15 days a month, your electricity bill would be different. So more the level of production would be, more electricity bill would be there to be paid. So in this way, variable cost which varies, variable cost which is not fixed and it varies, not fixed and varies. It means you will increase your level of production, variable cost will increase. If you will decrease your level of production, variable cost would be decreased. So there were two main concepts which you were in need to understand. This is your contribution margin income statement. Sales, how much amount you have received, how much is your revenue. Variable cost we have understood. Contribution margin is a concept. Contribution margin is not a practical thing, it's a formula, or it's a concept with which what you will get, if you will subtract your variable cost from sales, you can get your contribution margin. And formula we have already discussed. So all points up till now has been discussed. Then fixed cost was also explained. Net margin, again it's a formula, it's not a practical concept. When you will subtract your fixed cost from contribution margin, you will get your net margin. Why not, we should have write it as well. We are now up to our last element, that is net margin. So to calculate your net margin, what do you need? You will take your contribution margin, and then you will subtract your fixed cost, with which you will get net margin. In this way, with an ease, we have created few formulas, and actually these are not formula, just we have extracted from our contribution margin income statement. What first thing we have discussed it, to calculate your contribution margin, you will subtract your variable cost from sales. So have you noticed it? Your contribution margin per unit, how you will calculate? When you will subtract your variable cost from sales. Variable cost, when subtracted from sales, you can get your contribution margin. And then you have calculated net margin. How? When you will subtract your fixed cost from contribution margin. So it is requested to please note it down. We have our first formula, and let's mark them. First formula which we have seen is contribution margin per unit, and then we have seen fixed cost, then variable cost, and second formula which we have seen is net margin, and here we can call it second. Okay, come to the point. We were solving our question. Since it was first question, I was thinking to let you know the basic concepts. As two formulas we have discussed: target profit units and break even units. Right now what is required in our question is how many flower arrangements, that means how many units must sell to break even. So what we need is break even unit. This formula you will remember, though it would not be used particularly in this question, but keep remember, break even unit is our next formula. For that, what we do need is your fixed cost, and then you need to divide it with CM per unit. And contribution margin per unit you have seen over here, we can calculate. So to complete this formula, what we need is fixed cost, and as you have seen, we have already marked it. Fixed cost is 12,350, and CM per unit is needed to be calculated. At this place, we can have our CM per unit. Look over here. This is contribution margin per unit, and I am writing it CM per unit. It's just the same thing. And how you will calculate? You need to have sale per unit, and will subtract variable cost per unit. For that, let's go back to the question, and inputs are already written. Look over here, sale price per unit 24.95, 24.95, and variable cost per unit has already all is mentioned as well, that is 15.45. Statement is completed. It's time to put it on our calculator. Minus 15.45. So in this way we have calculated our CM per unit. How? Sales per unit was given 24.95, variable cost per unit was given in the question 15.45. So what you have done, simply subtracted 24.95 from and 15.45. This way 9.5 is your answer, and that is CM per unit. Fixed cost is also present in your question, 12,350. Here you can put these amounts. Please note it down. We are following this formula, break even units. So fixed cost 12,350 divided by CM per unit, which was calculated over here, 9.5. Statement is completed. Now we are open to put it on our calculator. So here we have our answer, 1300 break even units. 1300 break even units, with which what will happen? You will get your break even point, and break even point we have discussed is the point where there is no profit, no loss. Go back to your question and look at here. Answer has been mentioned over here 1300, though it is handwritten, but just for the sake of your satisfaction, answer was pre-written over here. 1300 are the number of units with which you can get your break-even point. Though your question has been completed, your solution for this question is just this. It's a short question. You may have 1 or 2 minutes to calculate it, and that's all. Right now, what we have done over here, these are just the concept to make you comfortable in understanding the concepts present in this chapter. And secondly, you have seen your solution was present on left side. But here our discussion is not ended. I am willing to let you know what actually these 1300 number of units are. It's up to you. You need to solve this question from here to here, and that's all. This is your solution. You can take screenshot over here. When you want to solve the question, only this highlighted area is required to be mentioned, and even then this target profit units you may not write it. So ultimately there are few lines which are needed to get solution of this question. Now please understand what next we are doing in at that spot. We will prove it with these 1300 number of units. You will get your net profit or net margin as 0. Look at here. Net margin would be 0 if you will produce 1300 number of units. I'm again telling you, it's not part of your question, it's not part of the solution. We are just making to understand. Let me handle it first. So we are now proving and understanding it. For that, we will be following this contribution margin income statement, and we will calculate it, and I will let you know why I am doing this. So again, contribution margin income statement. For this we must have sales, and then we will subtract variable cost, with which we will get contribution margin, and then we will subtract fixed cost, with which we will get net margin. Okay, now our target is to prove with this. Even without solving it, I'm saying that answer of net margin would be equal to 0. Here these are two headings, contribution margin and net margin. Over here what you will calculate, you will put how many number of units, then per unit would be written over here, and here you will write your amount. Let's make it little larger. Alright, units we have calculated, break even number of units. Look at here, break even units 1300. Now please keep it in your mind, if you have 1300 number of units for sales, it would always be similar for variable cost and for contribution margin. It's a simple concept. If you will sell 1300 units, it means those 1300 units were manufactured. Is it possible that you are manufacturing 1000 number of unit and you are selling 1300? It's impossible. So it means number of units you are selling, they were manufactured first. Since we are related with management accounting and we are related with manufacturing concern, we are not traders, we are manufacturing concern. So these 1300 units which were sold, it is sure that we have manufactured them. So number of units sold would always be equal to number of unit of variable cost and number of units of contribution margin. Now sale per unit, look at here, it was given in your question 24.95, 24.95. Okay, so what was our target? We have claimed earlier that with these 1300 number of units you will be at break even. Break even point is a point where there is no profit, no loss. Your revenues are equal to your cost. It means we have already mentioned that answer of this total statement would equal to 0. Next thing is we need to have variable cost. Go back to the inputs. Variable cost per unit 1545. So you can put over here 1545. And as you know, contribution margin, how do you calculate? Here I am going to put a separator over here, and let me know how do you calculate your contribution margin. If you will subtract, look at here, less is mentioned over here. Less, that means if you will subtract variable cost from sales, you will get your contribution margin. Spelling of contribution margin. Okay, the same thing we are doing. 24.95 was your sales, look at here, and you are now going to subtract your variable cost, which is 15.45. So we have got our net margin. Let's highlight them. In same way, now we can calculate the amount. How do you calculate amount? It's simple thing. When you will multiply your units with per unit, you will get your total amount. It's a simple concept, and we have almost discussed in each chapter. How do you calculate your total cost or total amount? When your units are multiplied with per unit. So here your number of units are 1300, and then you need to multiply 24.95, which is per unit. So we have got our sales. In the same way, variable cost would be calculated by multiplying units and per unit. Units are 1300 and it would be multiplied with 15.45, which is per unit variable cost. You have got your cost. And now contribution margin, and it would be calculated how? When you will subtract your variable cost from sale. Again, your sale is 32435, and you will subtract 32435, you will subtract your variable cost 20085. All right guys, you have your contribution margin, which is 12350, and now we will be putting our fixed cost. For that, in question it has been given 12350. 12350 is your fixed cost. A separator we are making, and kindly note it down what we have done. Since we haven't subtracted yet, to calculate net margin you need to subtract your fixed cost from contribution margin, and we haven't subtracted, but answer was already written over here, which was 0. So I'm very sure that you have understood the concept. Break even point is a point where there is no profit, no loss, and at this stage you have proved it, though it was not required in your question. But to make better understanding, we have made contribution margin statement and proved it that your net margin is 0 if you are selling 1300 number of units. With these 13 number of units, you will not be getting any profit, or even at that stage you are not facing loss as well. The point where you are not getting any profit or not facing any loss, this is your break even. And how many number of units you will sell to get this point? 1300. So this was requirement of your question. You can see how many number of unit must Kate sell to get the break even point. So we just not only calculated the number of units of break even point, we have also proved it. With these number of units, Kate will get 0 profit, or she will be at break even point. So that's all about 13.1, though this question was very short, but since it was the first questions, we have taken some concepts We have proved it all, proved it as well, just for the reason that your understanding could be stronger and stronger in your mind. 13.1 has been completed, though I have taken time. Solution is in front of you. Everything has been sorted out and your answer has also been matched. Proof is also present over here, but even then I am offering you, if you have any problem to understand this concept or solution, you are very open to ask your queries through messages, text, or you can directly meet as well. 13.1 has been completed and we will surely be meeting again for solution of any other question in future again. Thank you very much for your time. It's time to say goodbye. Allah Hafiz.